to look at the warring factions. I think in total it may not be more than 10 or 15. And lock them up in a room and tell themselves the own truth, if indeed they want the party to still remain. Because as it is, I must tell you that there's no one PDP. In fact, if I'm going to do a division, the PDP is also almost broken into 10. With people running after different interests, and then the center can no longer hold. That is the position and situation of the PDP now. So whether you have the Atiku faction, as has been reported in the paper, supporting Tamboa, and then although the G5 supporting someone else, the reality is that one person out of the two would eventually be mad.
Yes.
But the party will still continue to remain divided. Until these political gladiators can call themselves together and understand that, look, one of the tenets of democracy is to have a vibrant opposition. And if they cannot, rein themselves in, speak, some sense to themselves, we'll continue to have a situation. And unfortunately, what the PDP has not come to realize, or they realize, but they've not really come to, take the reality of this current situation, is that we now have a president that can play politics and put them into complete extinction. This is not Buhari. And I think that's what the PDP needs to quickly realize. We now have a president that it can be regarded as a political field marshal. And if they are not careful, if he decides to play the kind of politics we know have the capacity to play, in the next 2-3 years, forget about anything called a PDP party as a political party. So this is the time for them to rein themselves in, think some sense to themselves, and understand that they have a bigger battle to fight as an opposition party. That is if they are interested at all. And that's my position this morning.
All right. Well, like you said, somebody would emerge whether or not they have the support of the party or they have the support of the G5. But the implication of this division is that they would not be able to play a vibrant opposition. And like you said, this is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. His political sagacity, he might be able to, use this situation to his advantage if the PDP is not careful. If you would like details of this particular story, is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. We're moving now to this headline: Buhari hands over 974 billion naira uncompleted road projects. That is the headline. So to the body of the story now. President Bola Tinubu's administration inherited 38 uncompleted road projects worth over 979 billion naira from the Muhammad Buhari's government. This is findings by the Punch. Some of the projects, I'll just give a few because it's 38. We can give you everything. The Abuja Kefi Dual Carriageway, Ikorodu Shagamu Road, the dualization of Akure Ado Ekiti Road, dualization of Obajana Junction to Bini Phase 2, construction of Bichi Township Roads, Lagos Ibadan Expressway, amongst other projects. But the situation right now, aside from the fact that these projects are uncompleted and they're worth over 979 billion, there's also the problem of the fact that even projects that have been completed, the contractors are yet to be paid. In fact, findings by correspondents of the Punch indicates that the federal government earmarked 25 billion to pay off local contractors this year. The contractors who have completed construction of various highways and other infrastructural projects across the country have been issued certificates of completion, but they have protested that the failure of the authorities to pay them. And even former Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, has also acknowledged that a total of 765 billion unpaid completion certificates were still owed, while the government is committed to the ongoing highway contractors. So, FUAD, the ones that have been completed, the contractors have not been paid. And the ones that are not completed, they sum up to about 979 billion naira, 38 road projects. Although the federal government are saying that, do not be afraid, that's the new administration, of course. Don't be afraid, we have everything under control, but we still have a backlog of payments. How would you react to this particular situation?
First and foremost, just add that to our debt profile.
Right.
Yes, so you understand what I'm saying. So part of the basis that the country is owing, because if contractors are finished projects and they are yet to be paid, so automatically it also adds to our national debt that would eventually have to pay. Now, this is the situation, and that's why it's important that when budgets are being presented, we pay attention to the figures and some of the dictates of the budget in itself. A lot of people don't know that when we make budgetary provisions in Nigeria, it is all anticipatory. The money is not available. It's not as if the money is readily available somewhere to take care of projects. It's all on all benchmarks that were proposed. For example, I think the 2023 budget was put on the oil benchmark of about 1.4 million barrels per day. If you understand what I'm saying, I think about what particular dollars now and all of that. If we are not able to meet that oil benchmark, it means that whatever anticipatory revenue we're expecting from the oil sector will not come in. So you have situations where we bring up projects and all of that. It's not as if the monies are available. I think the best what happens is that those contractors are mobilized or giving contract papers to go ahead to continue to construct this road. And then as money is coming, we continue to pay them. And that's why you see that a project keeps appearing in a budget year after year. In 2020, you see a particular project repeated in our budget. In 2021, the same project comes up again. You understand? Look at the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, for example.
I know.
God knows how many times that project has appeared in the budget. And if we are not careful, I still asked one or two of my colleagues yesterday that when exactly will this road be completed? This Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Don't be surprised that in our 2024 budget, that road would also come up again as part of the projects we are going to finance. I think that, look, we should have a departure. And we should have a situation where, look, when we come up with projects like this, we should have a financial standing that can start and complete the project. The project is worth 10 billion naira. We should have a clear idea where the money is coming from, mobilize and have it start and completed. The idea of having projects being repeated in a budget every year, for me, it creates an opportunity for all manner of corruption and what have you. Now we have contractors that have finished projects that have not been paid. And then whether you like it or not, there's also the time value of money.
Yes.
That these contractors would argue about. That look, if you are giving us our money, maybe the money could have been put into some other investments and all of that. But if you owe me for 1, 2, 3 years, what about the time value of money when you eventually not pay me? Are you going to pay me the actual amount, or you are going to add interest to it for delaying me that long? So again, this is about tidying up our books, financial statements, to ensure that, look, don't go into projects that you cannot start and finish with proper budgetary provision. I will be waiting to see what happens going forward. But again, whatever you have given as a list, add it to what we are owing, because we'll eventually have to pay.
Right. Well, you can get more details of that particular story on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. You're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. My name is Sage BABLOLA, and I do have FUAD side with me on the line. Together, we're reviewing headlines on the front page of the Punch newspaper. We still have other papers as well. We are streaming live. We're on social media. Go to Facebook, Mainland 98.3 FM. We are live. You can stream and you can also participate in the conversation. All right, I will open the phone lines by 8:40, but for now we're just reviewing the papers. But you can definitely go along with us on Facebook at Mainland 98.3 FM. Now back to the headlines we have here. Disco's backtrack on tariff hike awaits NERC approval. Now, power distribution companies on Monday backtracked on their earlier announced increase of tariff projected to take effect from July 1, 2023, as they stated that the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission had yet to approve the hike. In an appeal by AEDC issued on Monday, the firm asked customers to disregard the planned tariff increase as approval for such an increment had not been received. Although there's been some sort of advice that if you have a prepaid meter, buying bulk energy for your home or office before the end of the month may help you make some savings before you have to buy a new one. For those on postpaid estimated billing, a significant increment is imminent in your monthly billing starting from August. So that is that's just apart from an advisory, let me call it that was issued. So as it stands right now, the Discos had earlier announced that there would be an increase in tariff hike, mostly because of the fluctuations in forex and what have you. So but we have the AEDC saying that please disregard that particular memo because NERC has not approved the hike, but you might want to, in the events that it actually happens, buy electricity in bulk. At least you would be able to enjoy the privilege of the old price before you now have to buy the new price. And for those who are using estimated billing, an increase is imminent. I don't know how to reconcile both position of this situation. If you can find a way to do it, FUAD, would appreciate it this morning.
This is an attempt to speak with both sides of the mouth. We don't have approval yet, but we're advising you that you may begin to buy in bulk because it may just happen. So that tells you that, look, there are plans already in place to, increase the tariff. And all they are waiting for, which is supposed to be the statutory thing, is to get an approval from NEC. And I've said it several, if you have followed the pattern of NEC, the kind of romance NEC has with these people, because they seem to be in bed together anytime there's a call for an increase in tariff. There has never been any time we've seen NEC oppose an increment in tariff. In fact, what you have, instead of NEC working, to protect consumers and all of that, I've always come out to issue statements to justify the need why these tariffs must go up. So if we follow that antecedent, I think I will tell Nigerians out there, I am sorry, I'm going to tell the Nigerians in my own constituency, which are ordinary Nigerians, that are going through a lot at this time, to also plan themselves very well. Yes, maybe take that second advice, but forget the first one. Take the second advice of maybe buying in bulk now, if you understand what.
Yes. Or
probably just look at alternatives. Though some of these alternatives are extremely expensive.
Solar,
for example,
expensive. Yeah.
Solar, inverters, these things are also very, very expensive. So, as much as I will talk about alternative sources of power, when I also look at what it costs to provide those things, it's also extremely difficult now. But the alternative would always be find a way to survive this period. I'm finding it difficult to give any advice now, honestly.
So you don't believe that NERC might actually not approve it at all, because NERC they're not approving it yet. So you don't see a future where NERC might say we're not going to proceed with said increment.
If you follow their antecedents, I think they may just well approve it. But again, we'll have to wait to see.
We would indeed have to wait and see. But as it stands, NERC has not approved the proposed increase in tariff hike by discourse. But the AEDC is advising that they've not approved it yet, but you might want to do yourself a favor, buy in bulk before you now have to start buying with the new price in the event that the hike is at the end of the day increased. You can check you can check page 22 of the Punch newspaper for details on this particular story. Moving forward, we have another headline here. World Bank okays fresh $500 million loan for federal government. Okay. The World Bank Group has approved a loan of $500 million to help Nigeria drive women empowerment, the Punch has learned. This became the second loan approved by the World Bank under the new President Bola Tinubu. It is a scale-up financing for Nigeria for Women program, which was initially approved on June 27, 2018 with $100 million financing. A statement by the World Bank read in part, and I'm quoting now, the World Bank has approved $500 million for Nigeria for Women program scale-up. The scale-up financing will further support the government of Nigeria to invest in improving the livelihoods of women in Nigeria. It would help to ensure better economic opportunities for women, which is essential for addressing gender inequality, guaranteeing better education, health, nutrition outcome for families, and building women and communities' resilience to climate change. So they have explained, the World Bank has explained to us why they decided to give out this loan to the federal government. So this particular one is strictly for women empowerment. Yes, so FUAD, is that strong enough a justification as to why
I'm coming. After that women empowerment, after the women empowerment, you read the list of things now. Women, climate. I want you to recap it again, please.
Okay. This will help to ensure better economic opportunities for women, which is essential for addressing gender inequality, guaranteeing better education, health, nutrition outcomes for family, and building women and community resilience to climate change.
So in just one statement, this women empowerment is captured in about 6 different sectors.
Yeah.
Health. Education.
Yes.
Gender empowerment.
Yes.
Which other one again? Climate change resilience.
Yes.
I don't know what that means. I really don't know what that means.
Maybe women in agriculture who cannot really farm because of climate change. I'm just guessing. I don't know.
Yeah, you have started, have you?
I'm
See,
just saying now.
how is agriculture climate change?
Climate change is affecting agriculture, so that's what I'm saying. Maybe, yeah, it might be affecting agriculture and women farmers.
So those women farmers that are not
FUAD, we can't really hear you.
No, but you said women farmers are not able to do what?
They might not be able to farm now because of climate change, Abby. I don't know FUAD.
Is it that the soil is too thick, or they don't have
maybe soil degradation? Maybe soil degradation. FUAD, please, I don't know. FUAD, let's move on.
You see. Again, we are on this same path. We are on this same path. There's still a pending issue. We don't know whether we are still going ahead with that. That's $800 million from the same World Bank.
Yes.
On the idea of cushioning the effect of subsidy removal.
Mandated.
That one is too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I said mandated that it must be spent as palliatives.
So what we're saying is that $800 million is still pending.
Yeah.
Now we have another approval, and I'm sure that look, the World Bank cannot approve a loan if we had not approached them for that money.
Yeah.
So it means that look, the government is already even borrowing. That is what it means.
Mm.
If you understand what I'm saying, this was approved in June.
Yeah, 2018.
So the question is that look, did this request, this borrowing request, come from the previous government or from this government? Mm. But whether it's from the previous government or this one, government is a continuum.
Mm.
But the reality is that look, there's another approval of $500 million. You may just well add that to the $800 million. So we're already talking about $1.something billion already approved. And if you look at what we are deploying this money into, say, nothing is going to come out of it. When you say women empowerment, what do you mean by, okay, so are we going to be financing the universities, the primary schools? I'm talking about women education now.
Yes.
Would this money capture a situation where all our girl children, the girl child, goes to school free? I'm trying to understand. Because now this is limited to women empowerment.
Yes.
Are we also saying that the health sector, for example, we are going to see a situation where when it comes to maternal health care, women go for different things in the hospital, it's going to happen for free. This money, just like we analyzed $800 million, there's already a cesspit of corruption that will swallow it. Just agree with me. We already have a structure of corruption, a cesspit of corruption, a cesspool of corruption that will swallow all of this money and will continue to increase the debt profile of the country. And that's why I say that, look, for people who argue that our debt to GDP ratio is about 37%, and so we still have a wider window, to borrow more. As they continue to analyze these things and compare us to the United States and China, who are already about 150-200% when it comes to their debt to GDP ratio,
but a low
they should always talk to us about our corruption index and the corruption index of those other countries too. We are on another path of economic destruction if we continue to follow this line. To begin to get money from some of these imperial structures that they know as they are giving us that money, nothing will come out of it. It is well with the country. It is well with the country.
I mean, I would like to hold on to faith that the money would be used for what it was, is meant to use. And the structure of this loans, they're such that you have to use it for what you said you're going to use it for. That's what these loans from the World Bank are. If you say you're using it for women empowerment, you have to use it for women empowerment. You can't redirect it into something else.
See is that you see the money shared, government officials and agencies begin to run around with it in the name of women empowerment. And at the end of the day, we've done so many empowerment programs. So Empower, Money Power, all those things that we didn't do the Buhari government. You had one woman that was even sharing money in different markets in the name of empowerment. What did we get out of all of those programs? Well, the part again, another part of complete failure.
Well,
it is well with the country.
It is indeed well with the country. You can get more information on page 23 of the Punch newspaper. Moving on, we have Salah, federal government declares holidays. Osun cancels free train ride. Now, the federal government has declared Wednesday, June 28 and Thursday, June 29 as Eid al-Kabir holidays. It was announced in a statement on Monday by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Interior, Oluwatoyin Akinlade. Just so you know, you have Wednesday and Thursday for holidays. I'm not jealous of you. I am, but I really am not. But then again, let's focus on the other aspect of the story. The Osun State government has cancelled the free train service for holiday makers that are coming to the state. They actually explained why. It was cancelled due to a train accident around the Abeokuta Lagos Old Gorge line, causing a blockage. This was a statement by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Commerce, Industry, Cooperatives and Empowerment, Mrs. Kehinde Odediran, on Monday. She said the accident affected part of the train track and has halted train movement on the Lagos Abeokuta line. So I know that during the holidays, there's free train ride for those who want to come home for the holidays, but unfortunately this time around they cannot enjoy that privilege, as the accident that happened has halted services on the Lagos Abeokuta train line. Do you want to say something about that?
Well, the Osun State government is always, that's a tradition. I think it started from the time of former Governor Raul Faregbeshola, and I think Oyetola also continued with that program. But what I would think that if the government had made monies available for this particular one, they could provide alternatives. They could make buses available rather than cancel the entire program, because I'm sure there are also indigenous who are used to this particular largesse from the government or support from the government. So if there are already monies are made available and you need to take care of these expenses, and because of a train track accident, I don't think it should be cancelled. They could have looked into alternatives, maybe providing buses and all of that. But again, now for showing people, maybe some people will not travel this time or find a way around it.
Don't you think maybe the money that was budgeted for the transportation is what they want to use to maybe fix the train track?
No. The train track is to be fixed by the railway people, the railway lines people. So it's not. Is the government just saying that because of the accident and the fact that look, the rails are not running, then we would not have to. Will not be providing this service, So what I'm saying is that look, instead of cancelling because of that, there could have been alternatives. Maybe provide buses, or show people who are interested maybe to convert in Bega or just out somewhere, and then pay for their transport costs. See, that's what they've always done. Unless the money is not even available, so the opportunity came and let's just cancel it.
Well, you could get more information on page 14 of the Punch newspaper. Our final headline for this morning in Punch, we have Tinubu returns today, may present ministerial list after Salah. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is scheduled to fly in from London today ahead of the Eid al-Kabir celebrations. The presidency had on Saturday said the president headed for the UK from France, where he had been attending a summit, a new global financing pact hosted by French President Emmanuel Macron. He was scheduled to be back in Abuja on Saturday, but will now proceed to London, United Kingdom, for a short visit. But he's going to arrive the country today. It was confirmed by the presidency. But we have another part here. A presidency source, and I'm reading what the report has. A presidency source said, although the holiday lasts until Thursday, Tinubu may extend his stay till Sunday or Monday. He returns amidst uncertainty about his ministerial list, which is almost ready to be sent to the National Assembly. Now, Dele Alake said that in line with the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution, mandating President-elect and Governors-elect to submit the names of their ministerial and commissioner nominee within 60 days of taking the oath of office for confirmation by the Senate or State House of Assembly. He says, I've told you earlier in an interview that it will not take Asiwaju more than 3 weeks to form his cabinet, even as a governor. And even as it is now, 60 days is too much. Well, he's just praising the speed of the selection process. But basically, FUAD, the headline that says, or should I say the part of the speech that says he returns amidst uncertainty about his ministerial list. Do you have maybe an insight as to what is fueling this uncertainty? Is it nominating? No, wait, I know. Yeah. Is it the nomination process? Is it the selection process that is difficult? Do you think that maybe certain ministers will be retained? Do you think it's because he's trying to stretch his tentacles out and bring in fresh blood? What exactly do you think might be the problem he might encounter whilst constituting his cabinet, especially the ministers?
Basically, the infighting within the party.
Right.
and everybody, because again, what we've done with ministerial positions in the past, and our way to be proven wrong this time around, is that we have always used ministerial positions as political compensation for efforts of party leaders, party members, who have worked for the party and all of that. So, and that's why, even President Muhammadu Buhari, the former president, was not so excited to choose ministers. It was not that he didn't want to choose, but he had known that, look, it was just a way of, giving jobs to the boys who had worked for the party. So the uncertainty is coming as a result of the infighting, because there have been reports that within the party, a lot of people are jostling for this ministerial position. So again, I know that there's already an amended law that says within 60 days, whether you're a governor or a minister, you must submit your nominees for commissioner or ministers. And so, plenary of the 10th Assembly starts, I think, about July 4th, the 4th of July. So we will be waiting to see the list.
Yes.
But my mind tells me it's going to be same of the old same. Politicians, former governors, I really don't. But we'll wait to see, really.
Let's wait and see. All right.
Have to wait,
yes. You can get more details of this story, page 14 of the Punch newspaper. This is trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. Don't forget, we are live on social media, Facebook specifically, as we are streaming on that particular platform. So go to Facebook, mainland 98.3 FM. You can join us live, and then when it's time to take submissions, you can also use the chat option available to submit your contributions. We are moving now to the New Telegraph newspaper. The top story, I delayed subsidy removal to allow you, APC, win elections. Buhari replies Tinubu. It says party would have lost if PIA was implemented before he left office. He commends the federal government's policy so far. Why Tinubu announced 15 renamed airports. Those are the riders to that particular story. But let's take it one after the other. Now, immediate past President Muhammadu Buhari has disclosed that his administration delayed the removal of fuel subsidy till the end of his tenure because he wanted his successor, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the ruling party, All Progressives Congress, to win the last general elections. Buhari said this through a release made available to newsmen yesterday by his ex-spokesman, Malam Garba Shehu, in response to Tinubu's assertion that his predecessor could not remove fuel subsidy because they lack the courage to do so. According to that is Garba Shehu, the polls had indicated that the ruling party would have lost the 2023 election if the Petroleum Industry Act containing the petrol subsidy removal was implemented before then. So, of course, the new administration have been making certain comments and, shooting some back shots and what have you, that the last administration were not able to do a lot of things. And in just, 3 weeks of, their ascent of the seat of power, that seat of the presidency, they've been able to do what the past administration could not do in 8 years, one of which involves the removal of subsidy. While the past administration has responded by the spokesperson of the past administration, Garba Shehu, that they only delayed, it was intentional, because if they had implemented the Petroleum Industry Act and removed fuel subsidy, it would have in a way influenced the outcome of the polls and would cause the APC and Bola Ahmed Tinubu to lose the election. Is this justification enough, and do you think that is what actually happened, FUAD?
Well, I think the APC party members would have to argue this, and I'm sure that whatever Garba Shehu is saying, I assume that he has the nod of the former president to say what he's saying, would not hold water amongst party members. Because again, if it's about politics or about winning elections, and if indeed the former president was so convinced that subsidy has to go or should have gone, then one would then question his ability as a leader of the country. Whether he was committed only to his party or the people of the country. Now, like I said again, the party members would argue this because this was the same government that introduced a Naira redesign policy that a lot of the APC party members at that time thought was targeted at now the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because at that time it was very unpopular amongst Nigerians. It brought untold action. So if they felt removal of subsidy to bring untold action, what about the Naira redesign policy that limited withdrawals of people and all of that? What about the fuel scarcity, the artificial fuel scarcity?
Right.
that was created around the election period. So again, I think President Muhammadu Buhari and his team should spare Nigerians these tales by moonlight. I think they've done their own part. The 8 years to a great extent was a complete failure. And I think they should spare Nigerians the embarrassment of these kinds of stories. So we leave that at that. Now, for the current president and the supporters, you know, there's this thing about creating the impression that, look, removal of subsidies is an achievement for this new president.
Yes.
You know, there's that celebration going on amongst, you know, his supporters and even the president himself, that, look, he has done what no other person has done before in life by removing subsidy. And so it's a big achievement. Oh, the courage in itself. And again, I begin to look at their psychology, their thinking pattern, and it gets me worried, and I'll tell you why. The removal of subsidy in itself has brought untold hardship on ordinary Nigerians. Now, the courage to remove subsidy will not amount to an achievement until this government is now able to do the needful to bring Nigerians out of this excruciating poverty and pain. That is when the courage to remove subsidy will not be an achievement. Because as it is, Nigerians suffering. I don't know, one of the papers, I don't know whether it's the Vanguard, one of the papers, is already telling us that as a result of forex scarcity, one price of PMS is going up again to around 600 naira per litre. So when the supporters of this government begin to throw it at us, I think going to remove subsidies is an achievement, without considering the fact that Nigerians are suffering as a result of that policy, and the government has not been able to bring anything to the table to alleviate those sufferings. Then they will begin to wonder the kind of thinking pattern they are coming up with. So that courage is not an achievement until this government is able to provide the dividends of democracy and alleviate the sufferings of Nigerians as a result of that policy. So, two issues, that's my position.
All right, so let's talk briefly about the renaming of airports that was done by this administration as well. Now, the renaming of 15 airports by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu after prominent Nigerians have led to confusion as to who exactly took the glory for honoring some prominent citizens with some aerodromes across the country. The Maiduguri International Airport is to be known as Muhammadu Buhari. Port Harcourt International Airport is renamed Obafemi Jeremiah Owolowo. Ilorin International Airport to be known as General Tunde Abdullahi. Idiagbon and Ibadan International Airport renamed after Samuel Ladoke Akintola. Some others, Benin International Airport now known as Oba Akenzwa II. It's a long list of airports, so forgive us that we don't have the time to go through the entire list. FUAD, the confusion is majorly rename or renovate. What exactly should the priority be? We understand the need to, give, should I say, honor to some of these people because they played a significant role in the country, yes, in the development of the country. But most of the argument is on, yes, we understand the purpose, we understand the intent, but don't you think renovation should precede renaming of these airports? What do you think about the position or the arguments that is being put forward regarding the renaming of these airports?
You know, we are good at naming things after politicians and all of that, whether they did well, whether when they not. We are good at just naming everything. We name schools, we name airports, we name roads. I think it's just our own culture, our own way of doing things. I would think that, look, that's one way of immortalizing people, or one way of talking about their legacy. But if you look at the list in itself, it worries me that on the list you have, military leaders, former military leaders who had an incursion into our democracy, who disrupted our democratic experiment at that time, all being compensated, or would I say immortalized, by naming these airports after them. But if that's what Nigerian leaders consider as, putting the legacies of these people to the world by naming these things after them, so be it. But I think that, look, it's not about naming structures or facilities after people. The big question should be, when you were in power, what exactly did you do? How were you able to touch the lives of the people? That should be the legacy for me. But again, it is what it is. We shouldn't waste too much time on all of it.
Right. All right. Let's move forward. You can get this story on page 2 and 3 of the New Telegraph newspaper. Let's move to this story here. Federal government earned 68.83 billion naira from electronic money transfer levy. So, electronic money transfer (EMT) levy collected by the Federal Inland Revenue Service fell to 14.37 billion in May from 14.52 billion in the preceding month, according to the communique recently issued by the Federal Account Allocation Committee (FAC). With FAC communique showing that the country's total earnings from EMT levy between January and April stood at 54.46 billion. It means that for the first 5 months of the year, total revenue from the levy was 68.83 billion. Yes, we did earn from there, but it was a decrease compared to what the federal government had earned from electronic money transfers before. You know, that time we wanted to do, cashless policy and what have you, and one of the advantages that was one of the advantages that were listed as justification for that particular policy was that the country needed to tap into that particular policy or what have you and collect levies and taxes from that. So the more people that use the service, the more revenue for the government. But it would seem like they did not necessarily make more than they or get enough as expected. There was something of a decrease, and their total earning was 68.38 billion. So now that we're looking to diversify the economy forward, would you encourage that maybe we should use electronic money transfer more so that the federal government can get revenue and hopefully use it in other important sectors of the country?
Technology is to make transactions, transfers, businesses seamless, easier for the people. So you don't have to force people to use technology. People naturally just adopt it when it makes their life better. So the idea of electronic transfers and what have you is about our readiness to really go that line. Do we have enough infrastructure? Are we invested enough in it? Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's about how much we have been able to invest to put the infrastructure in place, put the facilities in place, from the banks to government and all of that. So it's a gradual thing. It's not going to happen overnight. So and you can't force people to abandon what is readily available to them to choose what is not available. And that was the argument against the cashless policy then, that look, the reality is that there are still a lot of Nigerians in different parts of the country that don't even have power to start with. There's no internet service in their area to also speak to, start with and all of that. So we'll continue to get better with it the more we're able to invest in technology and infrastructure to engender this idea of electronic transfer. So
yeah, and it's sad, and the USSD code, there might be problems with it, because I know that service providers has complained that I think the federal government or something were owing them money, so they might withdraw their services of USSD code, so people would actually be forced to have to use electronic transfer. But anyways, the New Telegraph, you find that particular story, page 8 of the New Telegraph newspaper. Moving forward, we have this story here. Don't stigmatize drug victims, Tinubu warns. Drug addiction is not a death sentence, as Mawa calls for collaborative effort in the fight against illicit drugs. I would really like to read through the story, but we're really we're working with time. So basically, as you know, a lot of effort has been made by the NDLEA. A lot of individuals, drug traffickers, have been arrested. At least in the space of 2 weeks, we've had more than 8-9 stories of drug pushers that have been apprehended by NDLEA. And then there's the issue of drug use among the youth population in the country, which is a growing concern, because these are the people that are supposed to help us maintain some sort of economic sanity, by going to school, working in the sector and what have you, but they're now engaged in drug use, and we're unable to tap into the, should I say, benefits that usually follow a teeming youth population in a country. FUAD, if you can in like a minute talk about the drug addiction problem in the country and the effort of the NDLEA in tackling drugs, should I say, the spread of drugs in the country.
Well, the NDA cannot do it alone. They only do their own part by going after those who bring in these drugs and all of that. That's the best they can do. But I think it has to be, a complete effort. It starts from parenting, the homes too. It also goes to the society, the schools, but majorly the home. Parents these days seem to have abandoned their duty, hoping that schools, teachers, the society would help them train their children. I think that's a big fallacy for parents who are thinking that, look, when they abandon their first duty to their children, the society will help them out. You have a corrupt society, a society that has gone bonkers. So you leave your children to the society, you get drug addicts, you get all manner of things. So the NDA will do their own part, but I also think it starts from the home, and then goes back to the school and the society, and then we must holistically work towards having a drug-free society.
All right, thank you very much, FUAD. Another headline here: CBN total turnover at investors and exporters forex window hits $247.59 billion. Turnover of transactions amounted to $29.98 billion, compared with the $32.69 billion in the preceding year. The decrease in the turnover was attributed to reduced capital inflows in the market during the review period. So even with everything, the revenue that have been gotten is still reduced from 32.69 billion. We're only able to make 29.98 billion. So all of the floating of the naira and what have you, and all the initiative by the CBN, to generate income has not exactly done much. But let's be hopeful. Other headlines here: federal government to create 1 million jobs for young Nigerians in digital world, says Shetima. He's just reiterating what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said in his inauguration speech. Corruption fight: Abbas advocates living wages for workers, appoint 33 more aides. Akpabio names Okonkwo Enyekere Chief of Staff Deputy. Kogi gets NUC's approval for third varsity. OAU student murder: no plans to pardon Adedoyin, says Adeleke. Ohaneze commissions committee for Southeast Development. Okay, and we have Ribadu takes over as National Security Advisor, says securing Nigeria is a task for all citizens. Okay, that's it for New Telegraph newspaper. For the Nation newspaper, luckily we've reviewed most of the story reported here. Discos await next nod to increase electricity tariff. 7 pilgrims died of psychological challenges, says NACON. Why Buhari did not remove petrol subsidy, float naira. We reviewed that as well. Ibadan skit maker remanded in prison. I don't know if you heard the story of the Trinity guy. I don't know his real name, who is being charged for sexual exploitation of a minor in one of his skits. The parents and the skit maker himself, Trinity, have been taken to court, and the case is being tried at this particular time. Honestly, personally, it's about time somebody really checks these skit makers. We also have here Ribadu CDS IG, we will secure Nigeria. Finally, for the Guardian newspaper, Muslim faithful groan as subsidy removal squeezes family budget. Groups decry prevailing hardship in Nigeria. Ribadu takes over as NSA, vows to deepen security stability. Despite Mba's order, Monday sit-at-home persists in Enugu. And lastly, confusion in power sector as discos hint at 300 naira per kilowatt electricity tariff. And that's all we can take this morning on trends in the papers. Not to worry, we'll just go on a brief recess. At 8:40 we will be back for Mainland Focus. We'll take 2-3 stories from the stories reviewed on trends in the papers, talk about it further, and give you an opportunity to speak as well. Thank you for your participation. Don't go anywhere. This is Mainland 98.3 FM.
Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
Yeah, know what this is.
98.3 Mainland FM.
The Broadcast Art Institute Supplementary Admissions 2022-2023. Few vacancies.